Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a monster analysis on the newest and latest mythic monster, nature mythic monster, Azte. He is the new monster that will be available in the Jungle Warriors maze. So without further ado, let's jump right into the analysis. After Quetzalcoatl took over the throne of the Aztecs, everyone thought that the old emperor would be gone forever, but the crown had been in Montezuma's dynasty for centuries, and he wasn't going to let it go easily. He had a trick up his sleeve, literally. It was there where he hid the only jewel he was able to take into exile. Only one jewel, but the only one he needed. He went to the outskirts of the empire. There stood the monument of his oldest ancestor and founder of the empire, Azte. Montezuma took the jewel and placed it inside the little hole the statue had and awakened the spirit of Azte. Azte was a fair and beloved emperor, nothing like that of his descendant Montezuma. Who will he support? After all, Montezuma has brought nothing but shame to his dynasty of emperors, but Quetzalcoatl would be the end of it. And so here we have the newest and latest magic monster, Azte. And so let's just really quickly see what this monster has to offer. He's in the Spirits book, he's in the Families book, and he's a Good Legions book. There you can see all of his stats when he's fully ranked up. According to the little summary, he is a nature controller with possession skills. He can also apply poison and damage reduction to all enemies, or gain true vision and lose status effects. At rank 0, he's immune to stun, which is super useful, right? I always prefer when monsters have a permanent immunity as opposed to a self-status caster. You know, I always think of Armorclaw. You get him all the way to rank 3, and he has a status caster stun that can be removed with the remove positive effects. But not this monster. Already at rank 0, he's usable because if you ever encounter someone that can stun you, you're fine. If it's a cat UFO, even if it's unspeakable that has single stun skill, you're fine. At rank 1, he becomes immune to poison. I don't think this is that relevant. While yes, it's nice to have immunity to some torture, I feel like I would just prefer like a Umbrella Hardened or something like that. And at rank 3, he gains precision at the start of the battle, true vision, which means you do not miss your attacks, and specifically because this is a nature monster that with possession skills, that true vision at the start of the battle, this will help you possess monsters that have the hardened trait, the tough trait, bulwark trait, whatever you encounter. I think this is awesome. I think just because of that self-precision, at rank 3, you're good to go. At rank 3, if you can get this monster to rank 3, you don't have to worry about missing your deny. You're only going to have to watch out for monsters that are immune to control or that have possession immunity. So, without further ado, let's compare his stats to the other mythic monsters. This monster has a life stat of 60,320. Now currently in the mythic era, this is honestly right around the middle for most monsters. A lot of mythic monsters have this same life stat. Cat UFO, Gardevoir, Quetzalcoatl, Unspeakable, Kothor, all those monsters I just mentioned, they have the same life stat as this monster. In terms of power stat, this is funny. This monster with a power stat of 5,192, this is officially the weakest mythic monster in the game. That is the weakest power stat we've seen to date. And then the speed stat 4840, this is honestly right around the middle. It's tied with that of Abysmus, Cat UFO, and Bendekin. And what do you notice about the monsters I just mentioned? They're all deniers. Abysmus can freeze, Cat UFO can stun, Bendekin can possess. So, just like the other mythic monsters, and this happens whenever monsters are released, if they're a certain type, these are all control monsters, they tend to have a similar speed. In this case, it appears that 4840, for the time being, as of the time recording this video, that is going to be the go-to mythic deny speed. So yeah, there you have it. I've talked about his trait already. In terms of relics, he can hold the mask and the staff. Perfect relics to hold. I think anytime a deny monster can hold a staff relic and they can utilize Cane of Atlantis, that's awesome because you never have to worry about your stamina being drained. You never have to worry about stamina in general. So you're never going to have to waste a turn recharging. And then the mask is nice. You can recover your life. You can give yourself armor. You can drain further enemy stamina. There's so much you can do with the mask relic. It's a great relic for this monster. We already went over the books and now let's talk about the skills. Alright, so let's begin. Tier 1 skills, we have Flying Punch. Deals very low nature damage to an enemy, applies poison to an enemy, gives 1 extra turn to itself. Oh wow, this monster even has an extra turn skill. It's funny because this skill deals 10 damage, so you can utilize this with maybe a relic. Maybe you're holding a staff that triggers when the enemy's damaged, so you can utilize Flying Punch if you need it in a specific case. If anything, I see this skill mostly because you're not after damage output. Please do not run strength runes on this monster and use them to attack. It's a 10 damage skill. I see this more as a let me just poison the enemy monster. So what you could do is you can poison the enemy attacker just to reduce the enemy's damage output by 20%. That's the biggest thing I see about this skill. Maybe you target the tank for that poison damage, but I mean it's mostly this extra turn skill. If anything, I guess I would use it more as to reset the cooldown or lower the cooldown on your other skills by 1. More than anything. And actually looking at the cooldowns, this monster is highly susceptible to having your cooldowns activated. I'm assuming the default skills will have 0 cooldown, but I doubt he's going to have like a possession 0 cooldown skill. So he is super susceptible to Gardevoir, so be careful about that. Moving on, we have Piety Please. Applies a Pyrophobic Shield and Torch immunity to itself. Okay, so Pyrophobic Shield will protect you except from the fire element. So basically you will take 0 damage from any element that is not fire. And because you're a nature monster, if you do get hit with a fire-based attack, well, that's more effective. And the cool thing about this though is that you block yourself from getting hit with torture effects. So if you are going up against fire monsters, hey, you may take damage from them, but at least you're not going to get hit with the burning or the ignite. And just, it doesn't matter, any single torture monster that you fight, you have immunity. So that's not a bad skill at all. Obviously, if you're not facing a fire monster at all and you have a chance to use this monster, then he's pretty much impervious unless the enemy is able to remove your Pyrophobic Shield. So that's pretty good. Moving on to tier 2, we have Rock Hard. Interesting name. Based on the name, I would imagine that this skill gave you taunt or something, but actually it just removes negative effects from itself and applies True Vision. I don't see the name comparison or the relationship. Yeah, this would honestly make more sense if it gave you like taunts or something. But yeah, removing negative effects is nice. True Vision is nice as well, but I don't think this skill is worth running, at least from what I've seen right now. We have Hypnosis, deals moderate nature damage to one enemy, applies possession, not once, but twice to one enemy monster, and I mean, that's phenomenal, right? Even if you're not rank 3 and you don't have your self-precision, with Hypnosis, you're going to be able to land this, you're going to be able to land possession even against monsters that have Hardened or Bulwark. Well, actually, Bulwark you might still miss, but you have a higher likelihood to actually land a possession, which is awesome. And the way I'm seeing it right now, with this monster, if you are fighting a Cat UFO, if you're fighting an Abysmus, and you go before them, you can just land the possession on those monsters, and then maybe that monster ends up denying its own team. Or maybe you do possession against the attacker, and the attacker destroys their own team. So possession it's my favorite, I think, my favorite control skill. It's so powerful. Also, when you possess an enemy monster, they waste stamina, and they activate the cooldown on one of the skills, and they attack their own team. So if they don't recharge, so it's great. So, I really like Hypnosis. Moving on to tier 3, we have Jade Absorption. Deals moderate nature damage to enemies, applies poison and damage reduction to all enemies. I actually like this skill. When a control monster controls, I always like for them to be able to do something else. And normally, I like them to be able to apply some sort of torture. Because you're not going to be running strength runes, because they're not there to deal damage, I like when they can apply negative effects to the enemy. In this case, you get a poison plus a damage reduction. So damage reduction reduces damage output by 25%. Poison reduces damage output by 20%. So overall, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a net minus 40% damage reduction, which could mean the difference between your monsters getting OTK'd and not getting OTK'd. And then poison also will take out some of the enemy's life stats. So Jade Absorption is a great skill, definitely. And then we have Katsuma, I love the name. Deals low nature damage to enemies, applies possession, then you have your AoE version. So, I mean, straightforward AoE possession. If you have this monster at rank 3, that's pretty much a guaranteed possession landing. And I gotta say, I am super impressed with the skill sets. Now, there's 2 ways to talk about the monster. Right now, as of the time recording this video, in the current meta, legendary monsters are mixed with mythic monsters. And some of the legendary monsters we have include the Megataunt monsters, they include the dodge area monsters. I'm talking Wormlad, I'm talking Hornet, right? I'm talking any dodge area monster, really. Wicca, O'Reilly, and then Megataunt monsters, there's Mephisto, there's Dunraw, there's Centurion. So, in the context of these monsters going up against monsters that have those, well then, the Deny monster mythics aren't that good. If they're specifically meant to just deny, I have to say they're not that good, because if you do catch them all, the Megataunt monster absorbs it. If there's no Megataunt monster, but it's like an Armorclaw and 2 dodge area monsters, say a Wormlad, say Helguden, well then obviously your AoE deny skill basically is just single target. So, in the context of mixing legendaries with mythic monsters, mythic monsters as denial aren't that great. However, in the context of just mythic monsters versus mythic monsters, 3v3 mythic versus mythic, this is definitely an outstanding mythic monster, because you have the speed advantage, you have the single possession, you have the AoE possession, your single possession applies twice, so even if the enemy monster has hardened, higher likelihood to land. At rank 3 you have self-precision, so higher likelihood to land. You have a good torture skill that also reduces damage output by a total of 40% if my math is right. You have Piety Please, which gives yourself protection from every element except the fire element, and you give yourself torture immunity, which is one of the best ways to take down mythic monsters. So with that said, I really like the monster. In a mythic era where it's only mythic versus mythic, he's phenomenal. In a legendary and mythic era, then he's still good, I would say, because he still has a skill for single target monsters. So you're gonna have to run this monster depending on the scenario. If you're in a situation where you can run him to go first and deny, then 3 speed runes and you have him go first and deny. If you're in a situation where you're facing a Megataunt monster or a dodge area monster, then you're going to need a monster to go first in the turn order and get rid of the Megataunt monster, maybe trade disable them, maybe actually finish them up, and then this monster can go and single possess whoever you need to, or whatever you need to do. So that's the way I would approach this monster, but he's either going to be running 3 speed, or maybe some team speed combination. His ultimate, Little Bomb, deals heavy special damage, applies stun and daze. Honestly, who cares if it's heavy special damage, you're going after the stun, and in this case, more damage reduction with daze. So if you do Little Bomb and then next turn you do Jade Absorption, that's even more damage reduction. So overall, like I said, I like this monster. He's definitely better in the Mythic era. But anyhow, those are my thoughts on this monster. Now I want to hear from all of you guys. Let me know your thoughts below. How do you think he compares? Let's compare him to Van Decken, the other possession monster. Who do you like more? Any thoughts in the comments below? Thank you very much, and remember to subscribe.